Well, folks, we have some bad news. According to the internet, we've gotten our first bad episode of Skeleton Crew, our first filler episode.
Filler! Can you
No.
believe it? It's ruined.
Just kidding. The show still remains to be amazing. Somehow, some way, there is a good Mandoverse show. Hell has frozen over. Welcome back to This is the Wayseekers, a podcast for Star Wars fans by Star Wars fans. My name's Austin SWE. I'm joined once again by my first mate, Scotty Holiday, to talk more Skeleton Crew. Scotty, we're 4 episodes into the show. How are you feeling now?
I'm still enjoying it. I'm loving the pirates. We got a bunch of cool lore stuff this episode that I'm excited to get into.
Yes.
So there's some cool stuff to talk about. I'm excited.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that we're going to have a really good discussion about it. I'm on the same page, pretty much still loving it. Don't know how I feel 100% yet about this episode, but we'll discuss it and hopefully I'll have a final conclusive answer by the end of our discussion. But before we get into everything, I do just want to say that This is the Wayseekers is going to be releasing a holiday special this Sunday. It's going to be a year in review for 2024, the entire year of Star Wars. We've had a shitty year. We've had some good things happening. We've had some very horrible downside, negative things happening this year. And we talked about all of it in our holiday special. I'm super excited for everyone to see it. Scotty, how did you feel about our holiday special this year?
I thought it was fun because not only did I have to keep you in check when you're getting a little too negative, but we got to talk about each of our top 5 favorite parts of Star Wars in the year, which I think was probably the best part of the conversation. So I really hope you all enjoy it.
Yes, me too. But Scotty, what are we talking about today in this episode of This is the Wayseekers?
So we're talking about Skeleton Crew episode 4, Can't Remember No At-Attin.
Oh Lord. I remember seeing the name and I was like, I wonder if Scotty's going to do an SM33 impression. And here you are.
You know me.
Yeah.
Of course.
We all remember the crosshair impressions from Bad Batch Season 3.
Very true. And Omega. I do a good Omega.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Skeleton Crew episode 4, I pretty much enjoyed the entire episode. I think it was a really unique and creative way to give us some exposition and explain more about the At-Attin mystery without actually being At-Attin. At, how many times can we say at? But you know what I mean? We got to explore At-Attin through this new world At-Achrin, which is obviously also part of the Old Republic jewels. Or how exactly was that put in the last episode?
The jewels of the Old Republic.
Okay, the jewels of the Old Republic. I don't know why I keep wanting to say the crown jewels of the Old Republic.
The family jewels of the Old Republic.
Yes. Well, I thought it was just a really creative way to kind of explore that mystery. And this entire show has kind of been like an onion. We're peeling back the layers. But as I keep saying, I have more fucking questions than I did going into it. But
I mean, I think that's a good thing. Like I said, I really enjoyed the lore that we got in this episode. We both know that the internet's going to cry filler. Let's just be honest. This was, if there was an episode so far that they're going to complain about, it's this one. But I think it did a lot of cool stuff too, because immediately I was like, we're already at At-Attin. Like that was so quick. And then I was like, what is this post-apocalyptic At-Attin planet?
Right.
It was very interesting, and I really like the intrigue of it all.
Yeah. I think that there was a lot more. I don't know. I struggle to call this episode filler just because it moved the plot along. Yes, we stopped and had moments for the characters to kind of relax for a second. Well, not relax, but you know what I mean. We kind of
develop.
Yes,
they got development.
Exactly. We calmed down the story a bit so they could develop. They're kind of taking a pit stop here, but it's still important. We still learned more information. We learned that one of our favorite characters maybe shouldn't have been picked back up. Yeah, Scotty, I'm still on that. How you were saying, oh, they need to go back and get SM33. Well, did they? Should they have, Scotty?
Yes, because we still need him. KB is gonna hook into him, do her little on the computer, tapping away.
Right.
and she's gonna figure it out. And on top of that, you know who else we got a lot of good stuff from in this episode, development wise?
Who's that? Jod?
Jude Nanawood, because he
Yes.
had a bit of growth in this episode that really surprised me as well,
Mm-hmm.
especially from the beginning where I cackled when he was like, you know what, just shoot me.
You know what, just shoot me.
Yes, I literally had to, when I was watching the episode, I had to pause and screen record and just post that clip to Twitter because I was like, this is just so real. This is perfect meme potential. I think we're going to be seeing that one for a while within the community.
Oh, for sure. If I wasn't sleeping while everybody else was watching the episode, I would have definitely posted something about it. I'll have to post something tomorrow. Very
Yeah.
millennial of me, a little late, you know.
Yes. So, like you said at the start of the episode, we get to this post-apocalyptic version of At-Attin. It's very ruined down in the
Mhm.
dumps. As Jod says, it tastes like dust. Did you kind of clock what was going on at the start? Because I sure did. I immediately was like, oh, this is obviously not At-Attin. Because when they were going down to At-Attin, I was like, there's no way. There's no way that they just got the coordinates and now they're there seeing the houses. So I was like, obviously, this ties back into the Jewels of the Old Republic. This is one of the
Mhm.
other 9 planets, literally within the first 10 seconds of them being on the planet. How quickly did you realize?
So it was weird because part of me was like, "Oh, this is a different planet," but then part of me was like, "Is there some kind of crazy time warp with this planet because it's so
Mm,
removed from everything?" I
right.
was like, because I think one of the characters mentioned something about like how long were we gone, and I was like,
Hmm.
"Is it in some weird kind of thing?" Like, as we find out, this planet's also covered by some sort of barrier or nebula,
Hmm.
so they even had like the little I don't even know what they were, but like whatever the red lights are above At-Attin, little
Hmm.
like satellites or whatever, we saw those as well.
Right.
So now I'm just like, I don't know, is this going to be the same for every planet
Yeah,
that's a
I
part of
think
these
so.
jewels or what? And it's interesting that that's all still intact,
Hmm.
while down on the planet itself it is very much not intact.
Hmm.
It's just in ruin. Even Neel says something about like he can't breathe through his trunk because of all the like ash and smoke in the air. And
Right.
I was like, same bestie, my allergies would be killing me. There were so many times in this episode there where I was like, Neel needs an inhaler. This is like an
Right.
inhaler moment for Neel.
Yes, Neel
But
is for sure that kid in
yeah,
PE that, you know, struggled quite a bit. I love Neel because I was that kid.
same. Same. That was me. That's why I knew. I was like, "Where's his inhaler? Just give him his inhaler, and he'll be good to go."
Right.
But I think he was probably. They should have listened to Neel more when they got on this planet because Neel was
Hmm.
like, "This is not right."
Yeah. He was like, this is not At-Attin. And they realized when they looked around and saw things that they should have been seeing that were on their planet, that were either destroyed or completely different now.
Speaking of though, one thing I do want to point out is that crazy statue that we
Hmm.
see before anything else happens.
You mean King No Head?
King King No Head. Where I was like, could this have been a statue of the supervisor? Dun
Right.
dun dun. Conveniently with no head.
Right. Yeah, it definitely could be, but
I'm just curious what happened to this planet. What
mhm,
got it to this? We know there's like ongoing war and whatnot
mhm,
between the two tribes, and we'll get into that. But I'm just like, what caused all this destruction?
right.
That we still don't know.
Yeah, I was kind of under the impression that the planet itself was destroyed, like a Death Star type thing, when Kim explained it last episode that all the other 8 planets were destroyed. So I almost wonder if nobody knows that it's inhabited, like nobody knows that there's people there. I don't know.
Well, they do, because what was his name?
Oh,
General Styx
mhm.
mentioned
A
that they trade
trade.
with off-worlders
Yes.
for like munition or something. So
Right.
that was an interesting part as well. And I was like, well, then why don't you leave this
Right.
desolate post-apocalyptic ruin world? But
Right.
whatever, that's where they want to be.
Exactly. Exactly. So as the kids go on to discover SM-33 babysits Jod at the ship, I
That was funny.
love their fucking dynamic. Those two arguing, going at it is fucking great to me.
Yeah.
Um, But then we see Jod going through Wim's stuff and the other kids'
Mm,
stuff, finding the Old Republic credits,
yeah.
and SM33 comes and confronts him because he thinks he's an intruder. And that's where we start to see that SM33 is not being 100% truthful. Not his own fault. Obviously, he's
Yeah.
being controlled, but he says that he remembers At-Achrin. He says that the reason he thought Jod was an intruder is because At-Achrin messes with his memory circuits.
Mm.
And it was like, in that moment, it was like, what? Like, you know this place? Very interesting. I don't know. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, the exact line was, "It's a danger," or "'Tis a dangerous place. I know it well." And I was like, "So
Hmm.
you've been here?"
Right. But he
And I was
doesn't
like,
remember At-Atin.
and that's
Hmm.
when I kind of started thinking, was there some messing with his memory? Because we
Hmm.
know that there's programming with droids. We've seen it. I feel like
Right.
the most recent example I can think of, and I'm sure there's other ones, but with C3PO and the Rise of Skywalker, like
Yeah.
his programming wouldn't allow him to read the dagger,
Right.
but they had to go in and fix that. So initially, I'm like, okay, maybe they're going to have to fix something with SM33 to get him to be able to reveal what's going to be going on or what he knows about this planet. So
Hmm.
it was very interesting because it made me question, like, what else is he not telling the kids about? Does
Right.
he actually know about At-Attin and was like programmed not to talk about it?
Yeah. In that moment, I was getting scared because I was like, I really hope that he isn't doing this on purpose and is like lying to lead them somewhere and lead the kids to this planet. Like, imagine if he was working for like the Hattans or something like that,
Mm,
and brought them here to be killed or found or whatever, or questioned about At-Atin. You know what I mean? I
yeah.
was I was starting to get scared. So I'm glad that in the end it was revealed that he was controlled. He was told not to say anything, but we won't get ahead. We'll get to that.
So while SM33 and Jot are bickering on the ship, the kids end up meeting, or I guess falling into, these two other kids who are part of the tribe of the Troik people.
Hmm.
And we kind of learned from there that there's a whole tribe of them. It's just a bunch of kids. I was a little worried it was just going to be children,
Hmm. Right.
and we were going to end up with something like an Andor with Canary,
Right.
or I don't know, a Lost Boys, something to that effect. So I was like, oh god, don't tell me they're going to do warring children. But we
Right.
get a little more context because then they're interrupted by the Hatton tribe, which looks a lot more menacing and scarier. We
Yeah.
literally hear them like marching in.
Hmm.
Uh, and they seem to be all adults. They've got like a giant tank or something,
Right.
and initially that kind of sets the stage of what's going on this planet and why it's in ruin, because
Right.
clearly we've got these two warring tribes. But I was like, kids versus adults, this is bizarre. What did you think of the introduction of both tribes?
When I first saw the two kids, I was like, "Oh, we're getting our child antagonists because obviously we have the children protagonists." I was like, "Okay, these
Mm,
are going to be our antagonists." That wasn't the case. They immediately team up. They have a common enemy here because, like you said, the Hattans are scary. They're all adults, and I was looking around because my first question was, I actually had thought it was all kids. So my first question was, where did these kids come from? Because they
yeah,
make it seem like it's been like hundreds of years that this planet's been destroyed and in ruins. So
yeah.
I'm like, where are these kids coming from? Like, they can't be older than 13. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I was a little confused, but then I realized that they're kind of using the kids as like child soldiers, which I think is funny because Wim is getting the true Jedi experience here. He wants to be a Jedi so bad. Well, now you get to be a child soldier. um,
Yeah, I didn't love that aspect either.
Because it almost seemed like they were like using the kids, and I felt the same way once we get to the end, and they're like, "Oh, it's these four are ready for them to lead the battle," and then the leader is reluctant to put in Hana because that's his daughter, and he knows that he's putting them in danger's way, kind of using these kids as a tool. So
Yeah.
I don't think the kids are much respected around here. I don't know. I think it's like kind of a cover up that, oh, we treat them like adults. It's like, no, I
Yeah.
think you just kind of use them for your dirty work.
For sure. And the thing about General Sticks, like when we finally do meet him,
Mhm.
they say that he's their leader and the one true ruler of At-Achrin. And I'm like, oh, so he's put himself up on this pedestal
Right.
and he's using all these kids because they're young and naive and they'll
Mhm.
just listen to him because he's older, supposedly wiser, and he
Exactly.
stomps his little staff on the ground. And yeah,
Right.
that did not sit great with me. I was worried, honestly, that we were going to uncover something more sinister with him.
Mhm.
So I was thankful that like we didn't, and we get to the point, where luckily our antagonist or our protagonist are not in danger.
Yeah, right. And I think it answers your question earlier about why they don't leave the planet is because he's put himself in a position of power and
Yeah.
he wants that. I don't care how respectable he seemed in the end. I don't trust him.
Oh, I didn't think he seemed very respectful at all. I was like, this guy is using these kids on his power trip.
Right.
Like, and even Hannah mentions throughout the episode, like once she, is in charge of the tribe, when she inherits it from her father,
Mhm.
she's going to do things differently, which
Right.
I'm like, good for you, girl. Can't wait to see the day.
Right. Period. I can't wait either, especially after her and Neil's conversation and she's like, "I'll keep in mind the things you said and your mindset." I'm like, "Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait."
Yeah.
Skeleton Crew season 5, we're going to see her become the ruler.
Not season 5. I was like, wait, this was episode 4. And I was like, oh, you said season 5.
Right.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the moments between her and Neel, like while all the other kids are off, like seeing
Mhm.
the blasters, they're all like at the shooting range
Yeah.
essentially, and Neil's like, this is not my vibe.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed Hannah like recognizing that, and
Mhm.
instead of being like, come on, why don't you want to shoot things and be a warrior, she's like, let me take you around, show you some stuff. Like she knew Neel was not wanting to be there with them, and she like I
Mhm.
guess showed compassion in that. I mean, it wasn't something like very deep, but she still
Mhm.
showed him compassion and empathy, and she was like, this is not this kid's vibe, like let me
Yeah.
take him, let me talk. And that's where we get those moments between them where he starts to kind of turn the tide in her head.
Yeah, yeah. They learn quite a bit from each other, I think,
Hmm.
because even Neil, I think, kind of realizes that there's moments where you need to fight. And we kind of see that in the end when he's fighting against SM-33. It's all very Star Wars. It's the Rose
Yeah.
Tico line from The Last Jedi. It's not about fighting what you hate, but saving what you love. And sometimes saving what you love does involve violence and fighting back. But, you know, it also involves, saving the ones you love, caring first and foremost, not just fighting to fight, which is
Yeah,
kind of what these two groups are doing, what they kind of point out.
literally.
They're just continuing to go back and forth. And as Neil points out, is there ever going to be a moment where the conflict actually resolves when you guys are just going back and forth, stealing from each other, attacking each other? And the answer is no. But at the same
Yeah,
time, I think the leaders also realize, much like our own world, that what is this place and what does their control look like when there is no wars going on?
I literally, this cynical like part of my mind was like, when she gets older, she's gonna just fall into the same system, and
Hmm.
it's just never gonna end. So
Yeah.
that was really, I was just like, oh, I want the best for them, but
Hmm.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know. We'll see what happens in season 5, like you said.
Yes. Well, while all of this is happening, SM-33 and Jod are back on the ship. Jod is trying to re-jog his memory by taking him outside, seeing if maybe he recognizes anything. And
Hmm.
SM-33 is like, yeah, I recognize these warriors that are right in front of us. And boom, they're attacked. And that's where we got the iconic moment. Oh, just shoot me.
The most iconic moment probably in this entire show. I've been talking about like, oh, like the childlike wonder and the
Right.
Star Wars of it all, and I'm like, no, this was the moment. This is adult Scotty's moment.
Hmm. Yeah,
I really
absolutely.
related to that moment. I was like, oh my god, I feel
Right.
this. That's how I would feel if literally I walked out of my ship to a group of warriors. I'd be like, oh my god, whatever, just shoot me. Just
Right.
let's be done with it. We don't need to go
Literally.
through all this. But he surprises us in the end
Hmm.
because I assume they were going to take him as a captive or
Right.
just shoot him, but he actually ends up not only saving the kids but also making peace, at least for the time, with the Troik people, bringing them back their Eopes.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, that's where I start to get a little more critical about this episode
Oh my
compared
god, me
to other
too.
episodes.
I have
Okay,
notes.
okay,
I have notes
interesting.
about it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't love that the episode was only 30 minutes, like all of these other episodes, and then we just don't get to see what happened with Jod, SM33, and the Warriors. I would have liked to see that kind of play out because, as you know, he just shows up and everything's resolved. And I understand that that wasn't necessarily the whole point of the episode. The point of the episode was everything that happens afterwards.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I would have liked to see more of that, and the entire middle just kind of, I don't know, it just didn't do it for me. So yeah, the entire middle kind of fell off for me. But
I didn't mind Jod just kind of showing up and that happening off screen, because I think up until that point of the episode, everything was it was fine. I didn't think we needed to necessarily see what happened with him because we know he's resourceful.
right.
However, from there on, getting to the Fallen Sanctum, SM33's turn, all that, Fern having a moment of weakness, I was like, we're on like ×2 speed right now. So I
Yeah.
was like, this episode to me could have used a little bit more time in the runtime
Mm-hmm.
for those final moments so they didn't seem so fast. I'm like, okay, we're already at the Fallen Sanctum. Yes, it's a tower and they just go up the elevator, but I'm like, there should have been a little bit more. I would have maybe liked to see Fern show a little bit of weakness while they were training, leading up to this moment. So that way, when she did kind of have a breakdown, it felt more, I guess there was more build up to it. So it felt more
Right.
real. I mean, granted, she's a kid, so their emotions are going to be a little bit more
All over the
dramatic
place. Yeah.
than an adult.
Right.
But I was just like, and I'm not a huge complainer about pacing, but the more I
Mm-hmm.
review Star Wars shows, the more I start paying attention to the pacing.
Right.
And I was like, pacing for like the final third half was not my favorite.
Okay. So we have very different criticisms, I think. Because I don't know, I actually that's why I say the middle fell apart for me, because I actually kind of liked the ending. I could see where you're saying it moved a little fast, but for me, I don't think there was anything that I don't think there was anything that really needed to go any slower, because the things that kind of happened, I kind of saw coming, like Fern having that moment of realizing like we're fucked. Because to me, in that moment, it was like these kids are kind of having fun here,
They're
especially
riding a
Wim.
high.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're captain now of a ship, and they're going on all these adventures. This week has just been fucking extraordinary for them. But
Yeah.
they're kind of realizing that, like, okay, but there's still the aspect of we have to get home
Yeah.
and we're fucked. And I've just been kind of waiting for that moment. So
That's true.
when him and Fern have that conversation, I was like, okay, here it is. So to me, that was the buildup, almost, was that there was no buildup, because
It was abrupt because it was that
exactly.
realization of like, oh my God, like we're literally so far away from home. Now we're in this kind of hopeless point per
Hmm.
se. And now it's like, oh, we literally, like you said, we're literally fucked.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I just wanted the Fallen Sanctum to be more exciting. And that
Yeah.
was the issue because I was like, this is kind of boring.
Yeah.
Fallen Sanctum, I'm expecting something like a Zepho temple from
Hmm.
Fallen Order, or, ruins of some crazy, I don't know. I
Yeah.
just expected it to be a little more exciting. Maybe that was the problem.
Yeah, I could see that, because I was expecting the Fallen Sanctum to be that shot from the trailer that looks very Indiana Jones like. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about,
With
with
the
the giant.
Urkatat on the wall,
Yes, exactly. And the big
I did
gold
too.
head. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought that was gonna be that moment, or I was thinking back to the Scotty Holiday theories that that building is actually a Jedi temple.
Well, we do learn that on At-Attin, it's the supervisor's tower,
Yes.
and nobody is allowed in there, which
Hmm.
I was like, there could still be it could
Yeah.
still be a part of a Jedi temple.
Oh God. I
I was like, what if the supervisor is a dark sider?
Oh no. I don't think so. I think that I think that the Fallen Sanctum on Attin is going to end up being that room that we see in the trailer, with all the treasure and everything.
Well, I hope it looks more exciting than the one on At-Achrin, even
I'm sure
in
it
its
will, 'cause
glory days.
yeah, it'll be put together. It'll look nice. So yeah,
Hopefully.
that whole moment, that whole ending moment, I don't know. I really liked the reveals that we got with SM33 as well.
I did enjoy that because I liked how Fern had to be like, "Oh, I do the same thing with my nanny droid," because
Exactly.
I thought the same thing. I was like, "Oh, girl, you're the captain. Just tell him to override."
Right. Yeah, exactly. It almost makes me question the security of droids because someone can just claim they're the captain and now control what she's saying. But then
Yeah.
it gets a little muddy because then he starts to remember his old captain's orders about if anybody's snooping around looking for the treasure on At-Attin, you pull them apart by the limbs. And then I'm like,
I
okay,
mean,
well, he's following the orders of his previous captain now.
how many fail safes does he have until
Yeah.
you can get like to a clean slate?
Exactly. They may just need to completely rewipe his memory. Oh wait, no, they can't
They
because they
can't.
still need him to get. They
I
still
think
need
that's the
him to get
problem.
back. Yeah,
Because I mean, Jod solves the problem temporarily by turning him off, which duh, why
right.
wouldn't you? He's a droid. It'd just be like, boop. They
Yeah,
need to get a restraining bolt on him.
yes, that's what they need. But also, I think the issue is that Neel is fucking dead. No, I'm just kidding. He passed
Oh,
out, but
he fainted because he needed his inhaler.
he's meditating. He's died.
Oh my
That
god.
fucking Lady Gaga meme.
Oh my
Have you?
god.
You don't know what I'm talking about,
No,
clearly.
could you tell? No.
I'll just put it on the screen. Sorry to all our Gen Z listeners. Scotty is not on the same page as you.
I've been listening to Lady Gaga since Just Dance came out in 2007, so I don't want to hear it.
Well, you clearly weren't on Lady Gaga's Instagram lives, so you missed out on that
No.
era.
No, you know I hate vertical video. Anyways, so I'm curious what's going to happen from here because I kind of mentioned the ending, we got there,
Mhm.
but as you said, we don't know where we're going from here. Nothing was necessarily resolved. So
Yeah.
far we've kind of had okay, point A to point B, point
Mhm.
A, point B. So we got from point A and I think we're at B now, but I'm
Mhm.
like, we need to get to C to see where the next part of this journey is going to go. It's like we're almost halfway into, I guess, this kind of
Well, yeah, we're at
episode of the
episode
week.
4.
Oh, yeah, we're halfway through the season. Okay. Not what I mean though. Like I feel like each episode has kind of had like a clear start and end of like the episodic adventure, and this
Okay.
one feels like it stopped maybe in the middle of it. So I'm like,
Mhm.
what do? Carry SM33 back to the ship and then regroup?
Yeah. They take him to Navarro and take him to the Anzellans to get him fixed and
Okay, that would
or
be really
Kajimi.
sad. I'm worried if we did go to Navarro, we'd see this like Grief Karga interaction, but we know
Mhm.
Carl Weathers has passed, so I'm like, I kind of don't want them to go to Navarro. I know you were
Right.
just joking, but like,
Yeah.
there's still the aspect of how is this really going to tie into this Mandoverse era? We
Yeah.
didn't get Carson Teva last week. Um, Something that I kind of talked about is I feel like the perfect person to tie it all together would be like at the end, like Leia as a new Republic ambassador coming to At-Attin after it's like rediscovered.
Mm.
But then you get into the conversation of CGI Leia, deepfake Leia, recast Leia. So
Yeah.
I'm sure
Well,
they won't do that.
it could be Mon Mothma or somebody.
You think the Chancellor would go to At-Attin?
Fuck it, why not? Mon Mothma's cool.
She ain't super cool this time around. She's trying to put the
Oh,
pieces
that's
back
right. She's like
together.
dismissed Hera's, yeah. I forgot. I forgot the Mandoverse sucks. And that we still have to keep Skeleton Crew within the context of that bullshit. But
However, we stand Andor era Dark Times Mon Mothma.
yes,
Did you see that
absolutely.
picture of her today on her little laptop or
Oh
whatever?
yes,
I
yes.
was
I
like,
can't
me
fucking
video
wait.
editing at 4:30 a.m.
Yeah, I can't fucking wait for Andor. But yeah, I don't know where the story's really going to go from here other than I think that next episode they're just going to try to get SM33 fixed. I
Oh,
literally think that's literally the only place this story could really go, right?
well, then in that case, I hope they don't go to Kajimi because then it'll be just like I said with C3PO.
Yeah. There they could go wherever they want.
I was gonna say they're just gonna make a new planet in the Outer
Right.
Rim, because there's a new planet in the Outer Rim every episode
Mhm.
of every Star Wars Disney Plus show.
Right.
So maybe it'll be that. Ooh, what if they go to that cool planet from the trailers with like the fountains and stuff?
Oh, yes, where there's that big giant monster from the trailer.
Yes, that was
Yes.
really pretty. Or there's the one episode or the one scene from the trailer where like the Onyx Cinder is essentially going through a shredder,
Mm.
with like fire and stuff. So
Um,
I'm
I
like
bet you I know what that is. I bet you
an
it's when they
incinerator.
No, I think it's when they enter the an atmosphere. I bet you anything.
Oh,
Where they're because they don't let anybody in or out.
and that
So
funny enough, I was scared about that at the beginning of this episode. I was like, "Oh my god, what if they get shot down?"
right. Well, it seemed like what it was it they overrided the controls or whatever.
Yeah,
That
the
was where I
autopilot.
was like, oh, they probably are on At-Attin. And I was like, oh,
Mhm.
we got here too quick. Fuck, the show fell apart. What are we gonna do?
I was like, now the drama is gonna be the fact that they left the atmosphere. Boring.
Right, I know. But I don't know. We'll see. I still am just glad, and we got a comment about this recently. I wish I could say who it was, but we'll put it on the screen that said, I'm glad that they're trusting the audience long enough to have the mystery stretch out rather than having it all wrap up halfway through and then making something else the conflict. It seems like this is being
Mhm.
stretched out, and they said, fuck your attention span. For the people that this is cool for, they'll enjoy it. And I'm fucking enjoying it.
Yeah, I agree, and I appreciate that. Like we kind of said at the beginning of the episode, it keeps us questioning like what is the truth of At and what is the mystery of it all. And
Hmm.
we've said it before in previous episodes, good art should make you question things and
Yeah,
like make you think. Like
absolutely.
I don't want to be told things. We want to see it. That's what we've complained about the other shows, like with the
Hmm.
Ahsoka series, where it's just they tell us a bunch of things instead of
Right.
actually showing us what's going
Exactly.
on. Like not only do you want your audience to be engaged, but like don't treat them like they're dumb and have no media literacy.
Exactly. Exactly.
Show, don't tell. We can take a little bit of telling, a little exposition here and there, and I think this episode did a good job of that.
Absolutely. And I mean, it was directed by Oscar award winning directors. This was the episode directed by Everything Everywhere All at Once's directors, the
Oh,
Daniels.
okay.
So yeah, I was like, it almost felt like it was more well put together than the previous episodes, even though this probably is my least favorite episode, but that more has to do with just maybe some of the writing and the story altogether rather than the directing, which I think this was like the most beautiful
Oh,
episode.
one complaint.
Okay.
Hannah did not need to do that obnoxious flip after she left the group. I was like,
She was
girl,
happy. She
I
just
was
kissed Neel.
okay,
And
and she looks like she's 5 years older than Neel.
okay, yeah, that yeah, because I remember when we first saw her, because like I said, I had thought that I was like, oh, these are gonna be the childlike antagonists, and I was like, oh no, she's older actually, so I don't know how well that would be. Then she just becomes the high school bully, but that wasn't the case. She actually turned out to be the high school sweetheart.
The flip was unnecessary. I was like, girl, I literally said out loud, that was so unnecessary as I'm watching this. I'm like, girl, just
Listen,
walk. Just walk around the rock. You didn't need to do a
she's
little
trying to
karate
show
flip over it.
off. You're telling me you never did some stupid bullshit in front of your middle school crush? You probably
No,
did, trying to impress
no.
them.
I was too busy questioning my sexuality.
Well, some of us were embarrassing ourselves in front of our middle school crushes, that's for sure. But overall, like I said, I think this episode was my least favorite, but that it was not really saying much in Skeleton Crew because one of them has to be the least favorite, but they're also all my favorite because I'm enjoying this show, which is still
Thank
just such a
God.
crazy plot twist.
Thank the maker.
Yeah, thank the maker. But if there's nothing else, Scotty, why don't you send us out of here?
Make sure you follow us on social media at Wayseekers Pod for all of our Skeleton Crew content. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, may the Force be with you.
And also celebrate the fact that Scotty Holiday and Austin SWE finally had an episode under 40 minutes.